part 2 on this neon. Second customer complaint, well actually his only complaint, was windshield wipers are acting kind of funny. He said that they don't work on the intermittent speed, and when he turns them off, they just stay wherever they were when the switch was turned off. You know, they're supposed to return to the rest position, but they just stay wherever. So let's verify that. Let's see if we can get to the bottom of this. So let's do key on, do a little washer test. So they don't come on when you spray. I'm holding it down in the mist position. Let it go. They just, stay. Low speed, they seem to work, but again, you turn them off, they just stay there. High speed, work fine. So they don't return to the rest position, and intermittent speed does not work. So you might say at this point, just replace the the switch here, the wiper switch assembly, and call it a day. But I'm not so sure that's the problem here. Let's take a look at the wiring diagram and see what the possible causes could be. Okay, here we have our wiring diagram. Now, how does this system work? So we have a wiper motor right here, and then we have our wipe wash switch that's on the steering column. And everything I have in red is power in run or accessory. Okay, so what does work? Our low speed and our high speed, which is 2 is low speed and 3 is high speed. So whenever the switch is here or here, our motor does run. So that means current does travel through this power wire and to 2 and 3. So first let's do low speed. So low speed is down here, down to the motor, and then this is ground. Okay, so that's low speed. Now high speed, again 3, come down here. I assume it goes through a different winding on the motor itself and then to ground. So that all works. Now when we release the switch or we turn it to 0, to off, how are the wipers supposed to return to their rest position? So this is where this position switch, kind of rotational switch, comes into play. So you can see this part, the lower part, is constant power from a fuse, and then in the rest position, so let's label that. This is rest. This is off of rest, somewhere other than the down position. They're getting constant power. Okay, so let's say our wipers are somewhere in the middle and they have to return to home base. So that means this pointer is somewhere in this red portion. So that means we would have a power coming up here to this splice. There's a relay, I guess, integrated in this wiper wash switch. It's supposed to go up through the normally closed or open. I mean, this position is the normal default position of the relay if it's not energized. Then it's supposed to come up here, here, to this contact. So you can see it's closed in 0 or 1. So if our switch is off, power come here to 0, and then to our motor through the low speed circuit until this pointer comes to the rest position. And then this circuit would be grounded. Then we'd have no more power going through the relay, through the switch, to the motor. So it's kind of a self, always supposed to return to home base no matter which position the switch is in. So, okay, that would explain, for example, what are the possible causes? So let's say this, let's see, this fuse is blown, right? And this wiper never gets power. So basically it'll be grounded all the time, and that would be a possible cause of our issue. It's also possible to have a break somewhere in this wire, maybe this relay contact. So, okay, how about the intermittent? Why would it not work in the intermittent position? Again, I think it's related because, well, what are the chances of having two separate issues? And two, again, if we never have power here, so let's say you're in rest position and you turn the switch on to intermittent. So that's position 1. Now, what happens? Now we have to look at this intermittent wiper control and what ties in to this controller. Okay, so we're in position 1, and then position 1 here, so these two wires would be closed, but we have no idea what that is. It's just a solid state module there. What about, so let's see, this would have no power in the rest position. Alright, and then this guy right here is also a signal to the intermittent wiper control that the wipers are indeed in the rest position. So in that case, the intermittent wiper control would signal this relay to turn on. Now it's hot here all the time, so it's ground side switched. Turn the relay on, this switch flips here, then we get power to our low speed circuit. This wiper here would go from rest to the powered position, and then again through this splice the intermittent wiper control module would see that the wipers are not in the rest position anymore, I'm assuming now, would turn off this relay and wait until this is grounded again. Alright, so that's how the system works. Now, can we find a possible cause here of why both, to explain both problems? No intermittent wiper control and no return to home base. So think about that for a second, and we'll be back. Okay, after a little brainstorming, I don't know if you guys came up with a possible explanation why both problems exist: the lack of intermittent wipers and the inability to return to home position. So what's the simplest thing? Well, let's say there's a break in this wire. Okay, so as we discussed before, that would explain the inability to return to home, since the power from this position switch would not get to the motor to keep the wipers going until the wiper comes to a ground. But how does that explain the fact that the intermittent wipers don't turn on? Well, what I'm thinking is, this wire is broken, it's an open circuit, and this module is looking for either a ground here or a power. So ground would mean the wipers are at rest, go ahead and turn on this relay and do 1 cycle for the intermittent. Power would mean the wipers are not at rest, so we can't engage the relay yet until the wipers come back to rest, and then it has a timer in here and the whole process starts over. So let's probe this wire here. The easiest place to do it is right at the steering column, at the switch. So we're going to put in our test light. Now it's either going to light or not. So first let's hook it up to battery positive, okay? And the wipers are at rest. So what should happen? If the wipers are at rest, this is grounded, our test light should light. Then, well, we could keep it on, just attach the battery positive, turn the wipers on to low or high where they do work, and the test light should go on and off, depending on where this position sensor is. So let's do that quick check, and that will point us either towards a problem with the wiper motor with this assembly, or a wiring problem here. And if not, we'll go towards the wiper wash switch. Alright, first test. Test light to battery positive through our door. I popped the covers off the steering column so we can get to our connector for the wiper switch. So now let's back probe that's dark green and yellow wire. So on the diagram, this guy right here, dark green and yellow. So right now, if we probe it with a test light and our wipers are in the rest position, that should light up the test light. Okay. Now here's our test light. Touch something metal. There you go. Lights. Test light's good. Now insert our back probe. Let's see, it's a 90-degree back probe tool. Dark green, yellow wire. Alright. Go in there. Oops. Well, I didn't see the test light, but let's redo that. Try again. Nothing. Alright. Well, now let's hook it up to battery negative and turn the wipers on and see if we get the other signal that we're supposed to get. So key on. Turn the wipers on. Nothing. So I think my theory about that broken wire is so far it has not been disproven. So other bypass tests we can do. I love bypass tests. Can we make this thing work? Can we provide a power on that wire so the wipers do return to rest? Or if we provide a ground in the rest position, would the intermittent wipers kick on? I like that test. So let's bring them back to rest position. Actually, I guess it wouldn't matter. We can just ground it out right now. So the test light is on ground. Okay. So if we go like that, let's go intermittent position. Ah! No. False alarm. See that? Be right back. Okay. So I guess I wasn't making a very good connection before. Wipers are on low speed, and our test light is going on and off. So if we stop the wipers in that position, we do have power on the dark green yellow wire. If we stop them in the rest position, we don't have power on the dark green yellow wire. So what we've determined so far is the wiper motor is perfectly fine. We are getting power and ground at this dark green and yellow wire at the switch. So now we have to figure out if something's wrong in here. So let's pop the switch off and see if we can find any issues in there. Alright, cool. We got the wiper stock out. Just 2 bolts, slides right out. Nice of Chrysler to make it modular like that. Now what we want to focus on here are the pins. Now according to our wiring diagram, with the wipers in not the rest position, there should be continuity between, well actually there should always be continuity between this dark green and yellow and this brown and white. So again, at the switch there should be continuity between this dark green yellow through the normally closed relay through the switch to our low speed circuit, which is brown and white. Now the pins are 1 and 6, so the 2 outer pins. So let's just measure that resistance, and if that is not 0, then we'll just tear this thing apart and see why it isn't. Alright, our voltmeter, infinity, touch the 2 leads together. Yep, meter works. Let's see if we can do this one-handed. I'm touching both pins and we have infinity. So open circuit. So somewhere in here, between here and brown and white, there's a broken wire. It could be this slider, but let's dig into it and find out. So doing a couple of ohm checks, that's the relay, this guy right here. That is the weirdest relay I've ever seen. Look how thin those copper strips are. You can see there's heat marks on there. So that's the dark green and yellow wire coming in, and it should be always, in the closed position connected to internally one of the other terminals. But yeah, at this point it's just messing around, just for curiosity. Obviously just replace the whole unit and call it a day. But that's it for the diagnosis. Hope you enjoyed that one. Well, made a decision. Now that we have this thing all apart, we're just gonna get rid of all this junk. We're just gonna bypass solder wire here, right to there. So you won't have intermittent wipers, but they will return to home position, which is required for state inspection here. So I think that'll be a good cheap fix without replacing this whole module. I think it costs, you have to buy the whole damn thing, $100 or so. But hey, why not just solder in a wire and call it a partial fix? Alright, here we go. Soldered in a nice fat 16 gauge wire to prevent heat buildup. Now we're just going to button this up and make sure our resistance between the the green yellow and the brown white, so pin 1 and 6, should be 0. Actually, we could check it right now. Get the voltmeter or my ohm meter. I think this thing was made in the early 90s. My dad got it at a physics conference as a one of those prize packs or whatever. But man, this thing's held up great. I use it for everything. It's been across the country and back on a motorcycle. Beckman Industrial DM78, 5 stars for sure. Alright, let's do our 2 pins here. But keep in mind, our switch has to be in the off or 1 position, so it's not just these 2 pins that have to be connected, it's also, when I ohmed it out, it has to be, you know, this wire here and that wire there. So let's assemble it and then do the ohm check. There you go. Pins 1 and 6 in the off and intermittent positions. Now read continuity. And that's exactly what we want. So let's plug it in and see if our wipers return to home base. Alright, moment of truth. So if we did everything right, the wiper should work fine except for the intermittent position. Hey, they're already returned to home base. We're on off right now. So let's try mist. Sweet. Pull for washer. And I guess you'll have to manually turn them on for that. Our low speed, high speed, turn them off, turn to home base. Well, that's a fix enough for inspection. I mean, intermittent, nothing there, but we don't care. There you go. Cool.